you. So, I'm Dunham, and I'm here to talk about not contributing to open source. A lot of the time, when we talk about open source software and communities, we will very logically talk about the people who are already involved. But let's think about the people who aren't. I've looked at why I, my friends, and the newbies I've mentored pass up opportunities to get involved with open source software projects and communities. And there's a theme to a lot of their excuses. So think about these and see whether any of them ring any bells. I'm not as good as them. I'd waste the expert's time. I'm not smart enough. I don't know the code base. Do these sound familiar or familiar from people that you've worked with? The term for all this is imposter syndrome. You'll hear a lot about it from diversity advocates because looking different from everybody else can really compound that feeling that you don't fit in. But actually, 70% of all people will experience imposter syndrome at some point. Not just minorities, not just the diversity people. Everybody, 70% of people will feel like they can't contribute to a project just because they're not good enough. They don't have the skills. So when you're new, that can be just terrifying. So imposter syndrome tells you that you don't know enough to make a contribution or to be useful to a project. And the really terrible thing is that when you're brand new, the things that it's saying are right. There is one thing, though, that I'm here to tell you about, that a new contributor can do better than the project's founding member, that someone who's never heard of the project before can do better than the core contributors, and that is to help it improve its first impression. So a lot of projects really struggle with this. They'll have missing documentation. They'll have problematic installation instructions, and it will just generally be very difficult to start getting involved because all of these things were written by the experts who, although they really know the core of it, don't remember what it was like to be new because that was so long ago. So, let's introduce you. You're a total novice, and let's give the imposter syndrome the benefit of the doubt and say, it's right. You don't actually have the skills to fix that great big bug. You can't actually make that new enhancement that everybody really needs. And you tell yourself, this is okay. I don't have to get involved with this project. I'll just let it pass because somebody else will come along, and somebody else will just be awesome at it. They're this ninja rock star developer with all the skills, and they're just going to be great. But what happens when that somebody else comes along, and the installation instructions are still a mess, and the documentation is missing and incomplete, and the website is broken? Well, it's probably not going to work out super well for them because even the ninja rockstar supercoders only have 24 hours in a day, and if all of their time gets taken up by those little inconveniences, they're not going to be able to make a huge amount of progress making those big contributions that they're capable of. So, what I want you as the newbie to do is help the project improve its first impression, and I have some magic words for you that will turn any seemingly stupid question into a really smart, valuable contribution. I want you to remember these. I want to fix your docs. You don't say, I can't figure this out. You say, I noticed that a newbie might struggle with this. How should we explain that best? I noticed that a newbie would look here for this information and it's not there. Where should I link it from? And so forth. And so Every time you see a new, interesting project, I want you to do just one thing to help it fix its first impression. You need to share what that first impression was. Maybe you blog about it. Maybe you tweet about it. Don't be a jerk to the project, but if you hide that first impression, you're stealing it from the project because it contains valuable information about how that project can improve. So, let's say you're one of those project leaders. What can you do? You can have clear contributing guidelines and a clear code of conduct to make it easy for new contributors to start to get involved. You can leave breadcrumbs for where somebody can find the information, the documentation on where they can best ask a question. You can empower the medium contributors, people who were recently new, to help the newbies so that the newbies don't have to be afraid of wasting the experts' time, and those core contributors can be freed up to do the stuff that only they can. Give the newbies those tools, and then when you're a newbie, sometimes the little improvement that you make will just be paving the way for somebody else to become that next great contributor, but sometimes that next great contributor might be you. Yeah, thank you. I'm E. Dunham. My contact information is on the OSCON site. Rimmer and Author drew the pictures. And just in case you didn't know this yet, all of your badges have a little RFID thing in them to track which rooms you go into. Just thought you should be aware. Thank you.